Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Here are your hosts, Jmann and Nick, the Midwest motherfuckers. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann, and I'm alone. And it's been a while since we've had an episode. And, well, Danny's been working his fingers to the bone. And I've had a lot of shit going on with me, and I just don't see fit to sit on this material much longer. Let me tell you about my day from hell.
Things you learn when you work in a jail.
Some days, those easy days are just not easy days. Let's see. Sitting at my desk, thumbing my ass. Not like literally not doing anything. I was just really kind of catching my footing for the day. And what happens was, I get a phone call, and it's an associate of one of my inmates saying that, hey, I know that they are off on their kitchen crew duties, and they've got a cell phone. Okay, and there might be something else going on, too. Great. So now I've gotten an anonymous tip that I've got contraband in the facility. So I did what I would always do in that situation. I notified a supervisor, we mobilized some staff, and we found some cell phones. In the meantime, I was playing phone tag with a lawyer about a court subpoena. That was a lot of fun. And then at some point, I had an inmate walk up to me and say, hey, I know you. You live in this city, don't you? You have a little girl, right? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Well, yeah, my friend and me, like, we saw you and we swore that we knew you. And I'm like, well, who's your friend? And the inmate told me their friend's name. And I was like, oh, well, okay, I can't pretend that I don't know what you're talking about anymore. That would be silly of me. So I'm just going to preface the rest of this conversation with, we need to pretend like we don't know each other. And I'm fiercely defensive of my privacy. So I sure would appreciate if you wouldn't go telling my business around here. So then they say, well, you know that time you called the cops on me because I was out in the driveway screaming and I punched that mirror on that truck? Well, I'm here because of you. And I'm like, whoa. Listen here, Skankarella, pump the brakes. You're not here because of me. You're here because of you. The only reason that you got brought in is because you had a warrant for not appearing somewhere at some point. And more importantly, the cops only showed up because I called them because of your behavior. So let's not act like you're here just because of me. That's fucking retarded. So once we had a little come to Jesus there, I had to go about my day. And then there was the next phase of things, which is waiting to find out what was going on with our contraband people and what else they had. And we had found paraphernalia, but they had probably already flushed the drugs. And then I got to playing more phone tag with that lawyer over that subpoena, and then I got served a subpoena. And that brings us up to about 1 in the afternoon. I start at 7. And then I go on break, and I think, oh, okay, I'm 2 hours away from freedom. And I come back from break, and I get a tip, hey, your 2 contraband people just ran. What do you mean? This is another inmate telling me the 2 people escaped. Great! That's awesome. Just what I needed, to have to depart people out of the system and gather their belongings and fill out rush warrant paperwork. So I did that. And then in the meantime, I had somebody come up and tell me, hey, can you go get this inmate? We have to give him a phone message. Their stepfather passed away. I'm like, fuck my life. Really? Okay, well, I have a pretty decent rapport with that inmate, so I'm going to go and let him know. And I did, and I'm like, hey, I need you to come to the desk. You're going to need to use the phone for a few. And they're like, why? I'm like, well, your stepfather's passed away. What? Are you kidding? I wouldn't joke about something like that. No, I'm not kidding. Then they were a mess, and I let them use the phone, and then I get a call saying that the warrant paperwork that I sent wasn't up to their liking. That was fun. I really appreciated that shit. Well, then I just had to sit there and listen to somebody on the phone crying about their dead stepfather. And I thought I could get a lot more accomplished in terms of packing up my 2 little runaways. It didn't happen. But I got the warrant paperwork okay. And then I left for the day. But this is what happens when you work in corrections. You have these days where you think it's going to be just really simple and everything's going to be so nice. I can relax. I can do this. I can do that. Yep, nope, didn't work like that. And suddenly all it takes is like one domino to fall and the rest of your day just goes to shit in a frantic handbasket. Couple that with the fact that my kids have been sick and they've been whiny and they don't want to drink milk and they're not eating and they've been on with their mom. I mean, the oldest stayed home from school all week. So I get a frantic phone call today. It's a good thing I took them to the doctor because the 3-year-old has pneumonia and a double ear infection. And then she does what she always does, my brilliant ex with her GED level education. She starts pointing the fucking finger at me like, how could you not have taken him to the hospital with knowledge that you didn't have at the time? Well, maybe because I'm not a fucking mind reader, you dingbat. So I'm trying to get her to calm down so I get a word in edgewise. And, no, I can't. And it was, how could you take her to the library and let her put her mouth on all those toys and stuff and let her gum shit in public places? Well, first off, she's a human being. She has free will. And she's 3, so don't be so fucking stupid. Because no matter how much you tell a 3-year-old not to do something, they're just going to fucking do it anyway. They don't care. Yeah, maybe she got it off some random public toys at the library. Maybe she got it off a cart at Walmart or Target where I frequent. Maybe she got it when she went off with your boyfriend up to bumfuck Egypt there to visit his 3 kids that he barely ever sees. Well, they all ate at a Perkins in a town that's full of meth heads. Or maybe it's from when your mom, their grandma, takes them to play places all the time. Right? Because it could only be from places where I took them. It couldn't be anywhere that anybody on your end may have been. Keep in mind, my folks have been in Florida for 3 fucking weeks, so we can't blame their house. Their house isn't a fucking petri dish. But what you can think about if you have common sense and your head isn't lodged permanently up your ass is that she's 3, she touches everything, she still somewhat chews on stuff, but more importantly, she chews on her nails. I catch her do it. I try to tell her to stop it, but she won't. But the point there is, she chews on her fucking nails, man. She touches all kinds of dirty shit. But every time my kids get sick, I don't go running to the goddamn doctor, because here's what they tell you. Well, thank you for coming and paying the $20 or $30 copay. I just want you to know that after all the worry and the battery of tests that I don't see fit to run anyway, because, I'm a doctor and I know everything, it's probably viral, and you just got to let it run its course. We won't give them any meds or any antibiotics or anything. We're going to let it run its course. I'm fine with that. It's just insulting that I wasted a fucking trip making an appointment for that crap. I mean, come the fuck on. What is your problem? Yeah, that's what we always fight about this. She's like, well, should I take him to the doctor? And I'm like, I wouldn't. You know what they're going to say. It's viral. You got to let it peter out and run its course. And then she does it anyway, and then she calls me frantic like, oh my God, it's this. Why didn't you let me take him? I'm never listening to you again. You know how many fucking times we've had that exact same conversation? I honestly don't know, but I'm going to ballpark it at 5 or 6, at least. Maybe that doesn't seem like a lot to you, but to have 5 or 6 conversations that are fucking mirrored is mind-numbing. Because these are our children, and I'm not the only one with a vehicle that knows how to transport them to the doctor, you stupid cunt. Just because you shit them out doesn't mean that you can rely on me to do all the intelligent raising of them. You have a brain too, and you swear that you're not dumb, even though I, quote-unquote, treat you like you're dumb all the time and talk to you like you're a child. I can't help myself. You've been abusing chemicals since the age of 14. And I didn't know this when I met her, obviously, so let's not go, well, you're fucking stupid for being with her. I didn't know. Her brain's been drastically affected by all the chemicals that she's used over the years. And honestly, it's like the human brain develops until the age of 25 or 26. If you start using drugs and alcohol at a young age, especially in your formative teenage years, you stunt your cognitive growth. Anybody that's not fucking stupid knows that. If you paid attention in science class like I did, or took a intro to psychology class in anywhere, which I did at a community college of all fucking places, and look, I retained that shit, and I haven't been sitting there and miss whatever the fuck her name's class since 2001. That's 15 fucking years ago. But you pay attention, you learn things, and that my ex's brain has been permanently affected by all she's done to it. I never really drank much. I've never been drunk. I never even tried drugs, not even marijuana. And I've also never even tried smoking. I've brought it up numerous times. It's a well-known fact. But the point here is, I'm getting scolded like I'm fucking stupid by somebody who I actually think is stupid and doesn't want me to treat them as such. You're being a spoiled fucking child. So it's like I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a teenager. A teenager that I'm not any longer with because she decided to start fucking her coworker and then shack up with them afterwards. I don't know. We have a weird relationship that way, the three of us. Kind of like Charlie and his ex and the guy from Whose Line Is It Anyway that was her live-in doctor boyfriend on 2.5 Men. It's kind of like that because me and her boyfriend, who they're on again, off again because of all the fighting and the drinking and the alleged domestic violence that I can't prove and she won't cop to. Yeah, me and him get along. But he talks shit about me when I'm not around. I talk shit about him whenever because I don't fucking care. It's the truth. Get over it. And she just frequently has to call into question my parenting on this shit. It's one of the downsides to being a single parent, is you try to co-parent. It's hard enough having different styles when you're together, but when you're not together, oh my fucking God, it's like pulling teeth. Everything I think is right is wrong with her. Now, I have money in the bank, I have a college education, I'm gainfully employed, I have a career, not a job. And I'm not saying this to demean her. You're just looking. This is statistical information. She took a certificate program to be an esthetician for 1 semester at St. Paul College. And she still works in the fucking bar, I might add. I have a 2-year associate's and another 2 years, which made it a 4-year bachelor's program from Metro State University. I went to state school, and I paid out of pocket, not student loans or grants like her. I have money in the bank. We won't say how much, but it's more than $10,000 and less than $50,000. I also put down 25 G's when I bought my house, if that gives you an idea of how wise I am with my money. She has a bankruptcy, I do not. We covered it in episode 2, entitled, I'm Not a Cheap Ass, I'm Thrifty. I think I've proved the point that I know how to save my pennies wisely, all right? They say opposites attract, and they do, if you let them, because you have poor intentions. And I was only ever with her because I was morbidly depressed and I was looking for an easy piece of ass, and she was totally that. And then I knocked her up, and I did what anybody who has any honor does. He swallows his pride, and he makes the best of a bad situation. I cared about her. I wasn't like, okay, well, how long before I can throw her in the trunk of a car and drown her all Chappaquiddick and make it look like an accident? That wasn't what I was thinking. I was thinking, I need to man up, take care of my shit, move her in with me, make sure she's not hanging with the round crowd, make sure that she's taking care of her body, getting rest, watching her smoking as she tries to taper off in the first trimester. I did all the right shit, and we didn't really get along. Fuck, the first 2 trimesters we were at each other's throats, and we didn't really make it work again until about month 6 or 7. Same thing happened with the second one. It was an accident. We didn't plan it. Sex was had. Orgasms were let loose with reckless abandon, and somebody wasn't accurate on the timing of keeping track of her feminine calendar. Okay. So I manned up when a lot of guys would have just run, and I've had to pay for it ever since. From her, not from the girls, from my ex. I mean, it keeps going on. We went through court. I spent almost 7 G's on lawyers to get joint custody built around my work rotation, and all I've heard is pissing and moaning from her about it ever since. And it drives me up a goddamn wall. She's always like, I took a downward deviation in child support for you. Yeah, I get it. You should get another $119 by your math. But the portion that I agreed to let slide is what you owe me for the difference in medical and dental from single to family. And in Minnesota, the law doesn't force the mother to pay. So the father kind of gets it right in the ass there. And here we are, sick kids, and she has the audacity to say this. Well, I'm documenting this. Good, write it down. I don't give a fuck. Because she got pneumonia, and they're like, it developed from influenza. Okay, well, influenza is just a fancy word for flu. It's the long form of it. So they got the flu. In Minnesota, in the months of February and March, and even October, November, December, and January, the state is a fucking petri dish. There's flu everywhere you go. It's not my fault. But I can't even have a conversation with her about where they may have picked it up, because if any of the blame starts getting deflected towards anybody in her relations, oh my God, it's the end of the world. But she feels very cavalier about telling me how I'm horrible for not reading their minds and knowing their bodies better. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. We didn't have hand sanitizer and Clorox wipes for everything. And you pussy-ass fucking I-generation kids that are growing up with your helicopter parents and your safe spaces, and everything has to be douched in sanitizer, this is why you fuckers are dying at an alarming rate. It's why you're such pussies. Your physiology isn't the same as ours. You've devolved. You're not as strong as us. Most people, they climb on a plane, they go somewhere, they don't really get too sick beyond jet lag. Kids, they go anywhere. They touch anything. They rub it in their eye, they rub it in their nose, they pick their boogers, they chew on their fingernails. This shit happens. But for her to act like it's my fault that they got sick, that they got the flu and then the one got pneumonia, all right, odds are that it just kind of happened, that it's nobody's fault. I don't know if in her head, like, she thinks that on my days that they're sleeping here and I'm walking around with a lab kit and a petri dish and a cotton swab and I wait for them to fall asleep and I rub it in the dish and then I go and I swab the inside of their cheeks and under their lips and their mouth to, get them sick on purpose to help them build immunities. I'm not doing anything that dubious, you stupid bitch. So get off my fucking case. And more importantly, I brought the kids back Saturday night when they were starting to run a fever. I gave them Tylenol. Sorry if I didn't write out a full fucking medical chart like I'm goddamn Anthony Edwards in season 1 of ER. But more importantly, I did my part. I let them take a nap. They were warm. I dressed them for the weather. I gave them some Tylenol. I brought them home. I notified you. I said, bathe them, give them some more Tylenol. On her days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, they got sicker. Wednesday, I had them. I let them take naps because they seemed run down. They appeared to be coming out of it. Thursday, I saw them for 2 hours, and I noticed that my 3-year-old's voice was different. I just thought, well, she's speaking more clearly, and maybe her voice is changing a little. I mean, she is getting older. She's not necessarily a toddler anymore. She's getting to be preschool age. And then this fucking pneumonia bomb drops, and that's one doctor's opinion. We didn't get a second opinion. Maybe they tested her for it. I don't know. I wasn't there. Moving on. I get sick and tired of being on blast all the time. If people wonder why I'm such a prick, why I have such an awful sense of humor, why I will say the meanest shit to anybody without even blinking an eye, it's because I've been getting it all my life. If it wasn't the kids teasing me because of my sister being mentally retarded, it was my mom who was overlording every detail of my life like I was some after-school special case that needed constant fucking attention when I didn't, or my ex now. Because my mom was the constant. There were different girlfriends. Some were good, some were bad. Most had issues. I have issues. Everyone has issues. I don't like to think of myself as the common denominator because that's kind of a loaded question, isn't it? Of course, I'm the common denominator. It's my relationship history. But I got my ex, and I'm always getting the screws turned to me. My parenting's not good enough for my mom or my ex. And she's just so sensitive all the goddamn time. And you try to tell her, well, hey, what if it happened at your place? What if this? What if that? It doesn't matter where it happened. Yeah, because I'm pointing the finger at you, you dumb gash. Whenever you think it's my fault, you see fit to call me and I can't even get a fucking word in edgewise because you're too busy screaming into the phone. She's got 2 volumes when she's on the phone. Too loud and holy shit. And I just get so tired of having to fight tooth and nail just to get a word in edgewise. Logic will prevail if you let it. If you calm down and listen to the reasoning behind how I came to this conclusion, you'd find that I'm not pointing the finger solely at you. Come down off your fucking high horse and let go of this martyr complex. You have never been punished or tough loved by your parents. And more importantly, you've never had to be forced to take responsibility for your actions. I don't know how old you were when you got your first job, but you had an abortion at 17 from a 22-year-old ex-convict. You know what I was doing at 17? Working and going to school full time. I got my first job at 15. My parents instilled in me a very strict sense of saving my money. I had to put half my paychecks in the bank until I was 18. That's 3 years of being forced to save money, and I fucking lived paycheck to paycheck on my fun money. To the point where I was going out to eat with friends, and I would order either nothing or they'd give me table scraps like I was a fucking homeless person. I did that. I swallowed my pride. They're like, we get it, you're broke. But then I also, paid for other people to share meals with me down the road to even it out. But have you ever been so broke you sold parts off your car while you were still using it just to have a little money for lunch? Like I sold the lighter out of my old 88 Buick LeSabre to my friend Ben at the time when I worked at Target because he needed one for his Cutlass. I sold it for $5 so I could get a goddamn hamburger on lunch. I know how to hustle. I know how to get that goddamn money. So for anybody to question my level of responsibility, specifically my ex, fuck your face. I don't have time for that shit. You're pointing one finger at me. You got 3 more pointing right back at you. I understand that goes both ways. It's the same for me. However, I base my arguments upon evidence and logic. She bases it upon supposition and jumping to random conclusions. And she's a panic freak. And whenever she gets overloaded on me trying to tell her how she's fucking up, she's like, I can't stand talking to you. I need an Ativan. You're fucking making me crazy. I'm making you crazy? No, you're batshit crazy. All the fucking time. It just varies from, oh my God, am I going to make it through the night without finding a knife in my goddamn shoulder blades while I'm sleeping? Or am I just going to wake up and we're going to fight a little? That's how it was when we were together. That's just who we were and who she still is. I don't panic. The shit hit the fan at work the other day when I had the horrible fucking day. But guess what? I just kept pressing on, putting out little fires. That's my mantra, putting out little fires. Somebody needs me to do a UA. I'm busy as shit. Send them down to my floor. Send them up to my floor. I'll take care of business. I have a can-do attitude. Most people would think that that's, an admirable quality to have. But in my line of work with all those type A's, maybe they think I'm cocky. I don't know. I'd like to think I'm dependable. I'd love to have more people like me at work. Because then we could tell dirty jokes without getting hauled down to an attorney's office to have to deal with all the horribly un-PC things we joke about. Newsflash, PC America. Cops, firefighters, people that work in the ER, EMTs, teachers, correctional officers. Odds are you have a horrible sense of humor. You laugh at really bad shit. Doesn't make you a bad person. You want to know why? Because most of the time people laugh at things they don't expect to hear. Laughter is an involuntary response to an unexpected cognitive stimuli. Let that phrase roll around in your head. It means you laugh uncomfortably, but still laugh at shit you didn't expect. It's just your brain's reaction to things you didn't think were going to happen. Like if somebody gets into a car accident in front of you. Now last night, my friend JC apparently was going through an intersection and some douchebag 18-year-old kid pulled out in front of him and Joe just fucking creamed him. It wasn't Joe's fault. And I was on the phone with Rick James at the time. So Ricky and me are on the phone. He's like, oh, I got to go, man. Somebody just pulled out in front of Joe and Joe fucking creamed him. His van's probably totaled. I'm like, shit. Got off the phone with Rick. Texted Joe. I'm like, I just got the live play-by-play about your crash from Ricky. Hope you're okay, bud. And then I just sat there like visualizing the accident. And I started laughing hard because the image of an unexpected car accident, like say you're driving along and you're talking on the phone and you see one of your friends fucking T-bone the shit out of some kid's car, I'm going to laugh at that. Not because it's necessarily funny, but oh my God, who saw that coming? It just kind of fucking happens. That's just the kind of people we are. And that's the kind of person I am at work. You got to laugh at horrible shit. You got to put up with other people's guff. You got to not freak out and piss and moan about every little detail of having to be busy all day at work. And that's how I am. And that's why I'm good at day shift. Shit's coming 100 miles an hour. Maybe it's not coming at all. Either way, I'm prepared. Is it going to rain shit today? Well, let me be your umbrella. And that, whenever I go on interviews, I tell people I have a can-do attitude. I don't like to leave stuff or pass the buck. I'm not just saying that to sound responsible or to pump up my persona for any of the listeners, all 9 of you. You need to have people like that because there's too many lazy motherfuckers and just think the status quo is good enough. Now, am I guilty of constantly trying to overachieve? Hell no. I just try to get through the day sometimes because I want to come home and podcast or edit shows or play video games or go play catch up on a TV show because I need some distraction from the misery that is dealing with my ex, with raising 2 kids from a broken home, with having a big fat Italian mom with mental issues, with my own mental issues. See what I did there? I threw myself under the bus. That's something I'm very proud of, that I don't take myself too seriously, that I use self-deprecating humor, that I'm willing to shit all over myself. No pun intended, episode 17, The Poop Chronicles. You got to be like that in this day and age if you want to survive. Laugh at the bad shit. Cry at the sad things. Admit that you have man card violations. Man card violation number 1. I love 80s era Madonna. Madonna from whenever she started till about the early 90s. Get Into the Groove is one of the greatest songs of all time in my head. Here's another one that's going to shock you. I still listen to Ace of Base because they're fucking great. I love EDM, electronic dance music. And it started with me liking early techno and liking kind of poppy dancey shit that came over from Europe when I was a teenager. Ace of Base was the shit back when I was in my formative music years. And don't you tell me that a grown man who works in a jail and has tattoos and works out constantly and thinks he's a tough guy shouldn't be rocking out with no shirt on dancing to All That She Wants. The album The Sign is a fucking classic. All right, and I'm proud to admit that I listen to it to this day. Man card violation number 2. I am scared of mice. They freak me out. And it's not like they're like, icky, growth, oh my God, get it away from me. I'm not a giant faggot about it. And I don't mean faggot like I see a mouse and it makes me go suck a dick for comfort. I mean faggot like acting like a pussy. All right, I would never call a gay person a faggot. Only straight people that act like bitches. I was about 4 or 5 years old, and my parents had a gap in the sill plate of the foundation of their house. So they'd get mice in the winter, a few here and there. And one time my dad caught one, and the trap fucking decapitated the mouse. And my dad's like, hey, son, get down here. Come see this. I'm like, okay. He's like, the trap cut the mouse's head off. You want to see it? I'm like, sure. Well, he's got it in this tiny little, like, jewelry-sized Target bag. And I put my head over the bag, and he shakes it at me, like right in my face. And I screamed like a girl and ran upstairs. That right there is another one of those moments where the history of who I was going to grow up to be completely diverged and snapped off into an alternate reality where now rodents cause me anxiety. You know, and when I see them, I'm like, oh God, oh, fuck you. I'm going to stab you with a screwdriver in the face right now, mouse. Like, I'll be at work, and I've only seen a mouse twice at work, but it was enough to freak me the fuck out where it made me uncomfortable. Things you learn when you work in a jail. There are rodents, and if you don't keep your facility food stored properly, they will get into it. I walked into the kitchen, I came around the corner into the room where we keep the dry storage, and I turn on the light, and I see something jump out of a crate of packaged duplex cookies and go scurrying about. I'm like, oh my God, it's a fucking mouse. I just wanted a peanut butter sandwich. I didn't want to fucking sit here and stare eye to eye with Mickey. And here's another time it happened. I was down there. This is when I was on overnights, like 3, 4 in the morning. I'm down there eating a brownie. And out of the corner of my eye, I'm like, I bet you that fucking mouse is still here. And out of the corner of my eye, I see along the wall next to one of the fridges, I see the mouse come out, stop, see me, scurry back. And I was just like, oh, fuck you, mouse. Oh, I want to pour gasoline on your babies and burn them in front of you for ruining my brownie experience, you little furry rodent cunt. Yeah, they freak me out. You could throw mice at me and I'd probably swat them away and then kick your ass. But I wouldn't just curl into a ball and start crying uncontrollably, like seeing one's a trigger event to when my dad did that to me at that young age. Because this is the same fucking guy who, he's from Hermantown, and I'd call his old high school the Big Brick Schoolhouse, because he's kind of a bumpkin. When I was 5, for Easter, he decided to make an Easter bunny costume. My dad is 6'3". He used all white painter's coveralls with white gloves, and I don't know what he made the mask out of, but he put like a pink nose with pipe cleaner whiskers, and he just cut out holes for eyes. This is the closest to fucking Donnie Darko you can get in 1987, all right? That bunny from the movie, that fucking weird rabbit alien character thing. So here's my dad, and he's 6'3", and he walks in, and he's like, Easter basket. I screamed and I ran downstairs. I'm like, Grandpa, save me! The Easter Bunny! He's huge! I don't like it! Save me! Help! Oh God, help! If G.I. Joe was real or He-Man was real, I would have called on Prince Adam to hold aloft his sword one day and say, by the power of Grayskull, get out of the fucking rabbit costume, Roger. You're driving me nuts and giving me a goddamn complex. I love my dad to death, but he has some serious fucking common sense issues when it comes to not causing me to have permanent psychological issues later down the road for little incidents. Man card violation number 3. I do a decent amount of manscaping, all right? I wax my nose. I have my nose waxed. Like popsicle stick with wax up my nostril, pinch it, yoink! Like, fucking get that baby clean, because I'm 33 now, and the hairs are getting long and black, and nobody wants to fuck a guy with a mustache and eats nostril. That's gross. I also have an attachment for my nose hair trimmer that I put on there, and I trim down my eyebrows, because nobody wants to have caterpillars above their eyes. I trim the length of my chest hair, because if I didn't, it'd look kind of too long and gross, and I do that. I give it just enough length that it's like Magic Mike presentable. A little bit of chest hair drives some broads nuts, and I'm cool with that. But what I'm not cool with are pubes. I'm not cool with pubes at all. So obviously I trim mine. But ladies, we appreciate that you shave your vaginas. All right, I know that we're kind of chauvinistic for expecting it, but nobody wants to go and munch on a bush because when you have hair on your vajayjay, it traps stink. And if you've ever fingered a girl that has a big bush, you know that your fingers come up smelling like pussy and BO because the natural juices build up in between the lips because you can't wash good enough because there's a fucking hair pie on top of it and the loofah just can't get to the nether regions properly. So I appreciate girls that shave. Thank you. They expect the same, I would think. And if you don't shave your pubes as a guy, well, you are not the norm anymore. Manscaping has been a big deal for like 20 years. But you know what women don't appreciate? The amount of effort it takes to either trim or completely dehairify a nutsack. If you've got a pussy, you just go, like, look down at your abdomen, ladies. And then, as long as you don't have like a fupa or something, there's your pussy, right? You see a little bit of stubble. It's a pretty smooth, linear edge for you to trim that area. Guys, not so much. You know how fucking hard it is to shave around and at the base of a dick? All it takes is one wrong move and you are bleeding like a stuck pig. It's one of those things like a cut on your knuckle or your head where you just nick it like the base of your dick, or heaven forbid you nick your sack. Oh my God, is it going to bleed? And then when you get in the shower and put soap on it, it's going to sting like a motherfucker. I use a hair clippers to trim mine because it's easy. But you got to like pull your sack out and stretch it just right, and you got to manipulate it with your fingers. I mean, so I've seen videos where gay guys are like, this is how you shave a nut sack, boys. All right, figure it out. And they lay their sack down on a table, and then they have another guy like slowly with like a Mach 3 razor go to town on it. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I've nicked myself a few times, but it's difficult getting all the long hairs shortened up on a tea bag. But I do it. I do it so that my balls seem presentable and so that someone one day might want to bite down on it just gently and tug on it like a puppy with a chew toy because that tickles and it's a funny sight, and that's the kind of sick fuck that I am. And another part of that is nobody wants to touch a nutsack full of hair. It feels gross. Imagine if koosh balls were covered in hair. Remember what koosh balls are? They also have like those stress balls. That's like a water balloon inside of another water balloon. You squeeze it and then like it expands in your hand and shoots up the top or out the bottom. Okay, imagine one of those that feels kind of rubbery and then it has hairs all over it. And that's what it's like when you play with a man's hairy nutsack. It's like a wad of gum. That's what a nutsack is. It's like a wad of gum with two big grapes inside of it and then hair on it. It's basically like if you take silly putty and then you leave it in the car for a while and then you get it back and it's all dirty as fuck and it feels gross and there's hair sticking off of it. That's what it's like. So I shave my balls, and for that you should thank me. Another thing, I shave my armpits. I shave my armpits because armpit hair is gross, and I'm not too manly to admit that I do that. I care very much about how I look, maybe too much. Hell, if I could get the top of my ass crack waxed, I'd totally go for that. I mean, I've waxed my gooch. Years ago when I was with a girl and living in the apartment together, I bought some pre-wax strips. I'm like, honey, we're going to wax my gooch. And that story lived on in MySpace infamy for a while. So what we did is we put the strips on my taint, and then she ripped it, and I was like, ah! Oh, feel how smooth it is. So yeah, I buzz the hair out of my pits to keep it short, and it makes me not sweat as much. Because I don't wear deodorant. Maybe that's not a man card violation. Maybe that's just gross. But have you ever heard the rumors that all the weird silicates and chemicals and deodorant can cause men to get breast cancer or cause dementia or Alzheimer's? I bought into that shit because I heard it in a movie out of the mouth of Matt Damon. Matt Damon's really smart. He was that guy in Good Will Hunting, and I'm sure he's every bit that intelligent in real life. So I did it, and I stopped wearing deodorant back in December of 2008. And I don't sweat as much, and I don't stink as much. Your body's made to sweat, not hold that shit in. And painting chemicals on your armpits, well, you're just asking for trouble. So I don't wear any deodorant, and I shave my pits. And maybe that's not manly, but God damn it, I care about how I look for my ladies. And that's pretty manly, right? Caring about your appearance enough to take care of yourself for your significant other. I'd say that's not making it so much of a man card violation. And I think the final man card violation we'll go with is I don't really like to get dirty much. Like, I'm always worried about getting stains on my clothes or having dirty, disgusting hands and shit. Or, like, I wear gloves when I bathe my kids. That's not because I'm afraid of touching my kids. It's because you got to fucking bathe them all the time, and we live in Minnesota and it's cold, and I don't want my knuckles to constantly split open. So all that dry skin from constant water washing at work and then bathing kids, I got to wear gloves. I do my damnedest to like not handle raw meat. Some people would say that makes me kind of a puss, but I disagree because E. coli, right? Or raw meat germs. You think that you wash your hands good enough and then you touch your eye. Next thing you know, you got fucking pink eye. These things happen. You know what's funny is that people make fun of me at work because I wear a glove when I change a poopy diaper. They're just like, you're going to wash your hands. Yeah, hey, because that's what I want. I want shit on my hands. I might as well just not wear a glove because I can just wash the poop off. And I'm sure those fecal germs won't somehow get in my mouth later when I chew my nails or eat, or won't get in my eye when I rub it, or won't get anywhere when I scratch it or pop a zit or something. The gall of people to insinuate that there's something less manly about wearing gloves to keep shit and raw meat germs off your hands and to not have split open painful goddamn fingertips. Because let me tell you something. Imagine some of the worst pain you have. Ladies, I'd say childbirth, right? So when you get a split in the skin on your fingertip, I got to imagine that that's like at least 1/10 of what it feels like to have an episiotomy. Right? Normally you're numb from the waist down when your pussy rips open when you shit your kids out. But I'm not numb on my fingertips, and then it hurts for like a week after while it's healing. And everything you push and turn, you don't realize it until you're trying to pop an inmate's medication out of the blister pack, or you're trying to take off a seatbelt for one of your kids in the car seat, or you're trying to do a crossword puzzle and hold a pencil without seeming like you've got some palsy fucking fingers. Yeah, that shit. What about your lady card violations, huh? Is burping out loud really something you need to do? Because I've had multiple girlfriends do that shit, and it is such a turnoff. And I had one girlfriend back in the day from about, 2001 to 2003. She did this shit all the time. Just, bleh. She wouldn't say excuse me. She thought it was hilarious. You know what she didn't think was hilarious? Around the time we were breaking up, one of the last times we had sex, to get back at her for all the belching and the being a spoiled brat and the nitpicking me about stupid shit like a naggy wife and a bitch, is we were doing it one time, and I was on top of her. This is also the same girl that when we were 69ing, I got some pee in my mouth, if you recall that story. So I was on top of her, and I was going to town, and all of a sudden I had to fart. Well, I didn't feel like holding it in, so I just it was fucking loud, dude. It was a loud fart. And I let it go on purpose. And she said, "Get off." And I'm like, "Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong?" I ran it like a game of rodeo, right? I just kept pumping while she was trying to push me off. Maybe that sounds a little rapey, but she was consenting, and it was kind of a joke. And she laughed and was grossed out at the same time. That was your payback for belching like that. So chicks that do that, I don't understand. I don't understand why you think that is so attractive. Just like all the makeup you wear, that should be a violation. Maybe you have problematic skin. Maybe you're pale. I don't know. I get that it's a confidence issue. But you know what guys don't want? Your makeup all over us. If you put on lipstick, chapstick, lip gloss, I ain't gonna fucking kiss you. Same thing if you're caked down in 5 pounds of Mary Kay and foundation and shit. Eye makeup only. That's all you need. Women are naturally beautiful. As long as you are plucked or waxed and take reasonable care of your body and your face, you don't need all that makeup. I'm not talking about anybody in particular. I'm not trying to hurt any one person's feelings. I'm just saying, from a guy's perspective, you could stand to maybe ease up and just try to go natural. That's why that big rage and all the makeup-free selfies was going on in Hollywood a little while ago. And it's like, watch so-and-so take a brave selfie without makeup. I don't know if it's brave, but it's intelligent because now we see the real you. It's not some fake Photoshop fucking image of your flawless skin, which almost nobody has, by the way. You're not a fucking mannequin. Because if you were a mannequin, you would be in a movie with Andrew McCarthy in the 80s. And Meshack Taylor would be there. And nothing's gonna stop us now. Yeah, I can sing. Maybe it's a man card violation. I like to fucking sing. I'll fucking sing Prince all day. Do you want to hear me sing some Prince? Should I sing? I have a beautiful falsetto singing voice. And you want to know why it's not on the show? Because Danny probably wouldn't be down with it. It'd make him uncomfortable. But I'll be in the shower, and I'll be washing my ass, and all of a sudden it's like, if I've given you diamonds and pearls, won't you be a happy boy or a girl? And if you want, I would give you the world. But I like can do is offer you my love. And that's where I'm going to wrap the episode. I know it's been a mixed bag of hodgepodgey bullshit. I whined. I complained. I educated. I'd like to think we grew together as an audience and a host. Check out our page at whatdowecallitpodcast.libsyn.com. We are also at facebook.com/groups/whatdowecallitpodcast. So I appreciate all your listening and all of your support. And please join and follow and interact and let me keep proving to myself that it's worth my time for this hobby, because this is my therapy. And I love everybody that gives me their time and their attention and their feedback. This has been the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann, and that's the end.